Watching Fiona and Cake felt kind of dark, heavy, and sad, but the underlying themes and messages were beautiful. This was a story of free will, identity, and existentialism told through the themes of sacrifice and acceptance, and tied together with love.
Nigga, what?
What I saw while watching Fiona and Cake was a recurring theme of sacrifice and acceptance, a tug of war between the two being pulled to and fro with love being the rope. Like and subscribe. If you haven't watched Fiona and Cake, go watch it. This is your official spoiler warning. I don't know where to begin, so I'll start with the plot. Fiona and Cake are living boring lives, and it turns out that it's because they live in Simon's head, and since he has no more Ice King magic, the magic they had in those Adventure Time stories is gone. So they go on an adventure time to other universes to get back Ice King's magic from some alternate crown, so they can return magic to their world and turn back into their original bootleg Adventure Time form. Also, they are an illegal universe, so this multiverse cop is after them to erase them. Like I said, sacrifice and acceptance are in a tug of war, and the rope being used is love. This means that they are tied together by love, and if neither of them stops pulling, this love could break. The more one side sacrifices and the other side accepts, the more strain on the love. Case study 1, Simon and Betty. Last warning. So Simon has been trying to get to Gold Betty to apologize or reconcile or whatever. That's not important. The important part is the events that take place when he's reading that book as Shermie. The characters in the book are clearly modeled after Simon and Betty. The Simon proxy chases the crown while the Betty proxy wants to do shenanigans. And real Simon is hunting down the crown, so he keeps going down Simon proxy's paths. And when we get to the end, it gets to a point where he has to let Betty proxy die or forget her forever. Either way, he has to lose her. And real Simon doesn't want either of those options. And forgot her name. She points out that there could have been other options if he had chosen even one of Betty Proxy's options. He did not care what she wanted to do, and she followed him all the way. Also, this is the exact backstory of real Simon and Betty. A story where Betty keeps sacrificing what she wants to be with Simon, and Simon keeps accepting it and chasing the crown until eventually Gold Betty and Lonely Simon. The thing is, if two people love each other and only one of them is sacrificing while the other one just keeps dating them, it's a one-sided relationship, and to a certain extent, free will starts to disappear. Betty quite literally lost her free will to her new Gold Betty existence and took away Simon's free will to revert back to Ice King and return magic to Fionna and Cake's world. When love is in the picture, you want to sacrifice yourself for someone. And equally, when love is in the picture, you don't want a person to sacrifice themselves. Betty loved Simon. Simon loved Betty's support. On the other side, Gary and Marshall Lee show exactly how things should have been with Betty and Simon. Gary wants to sell cakes and Marshall Lee has contacts, but he's gonna have to submit to his mom, who I assume is evil, in order to get Gary the deals. And Gary rejects that sacrifice because of love. If you love someone, you'd want them to have free will. You love them, not what they can do for you. So you would shut down sacrifices for you. Because although the decision to make a sacrifice is free will, the act itself is a sort of nerve to free will, because now they are doing what you want instead of what they want. They are giving up their free will for you. Yes, I'm aware you can want to make someone happy, like your children. That's why I said if you love someone, you'd want to sacrifice yourself for them to make them happy. But let's be honest, children love you because of what you can do for them. They are dependent on you. Once they are independent, if they really loved you, it will show. And if they just loved you for survival, they'll visit only on Christmas. But we aren't talking about children, we are talking about grown adults. And grown adults have no business expecting sacrifices. I'm looking at you, feminism wave 4. And quite frankly, sacrificing for someone to make them happy can attach some strings that will open a whole other can of worms. I digress. Fionna and Cake quite literally embody the parent-child relationship I was talking about. Fionna just be mothering Cake like no one's business, because she still sees Cake as a regular cat. But Cake ain't that cat. When she got affected by Simon's spell, she got her magic and the ability to act with free will. Fionna still wants to protect her though, and it jeopardizes their mission to find the crown. Jeopardizes. Every time Cake was about to adventure time it up, Fionna would get overprotective and get in her way. Cake got pissed off by this because Fionna is implying that she doesn't think she's capable. I think sacrifice does this too. It implies that the person being sacrificed for is incapable of being independent. I digress. Eventually, we see that Cake is fighting so hard for the crown because she doesn't want to go back to being a regular cat. Without the ability to communicate and act on her own, Cake is willing to risk it all, but Fionna is not willing to risk losing Cake. I don't know, but I think this show is trying to tell us to find a balance between independence and codependence. We see that codependence is a faulty relationship, but the exact opposite is even worse because that is not even a relationship. What if we could sacrifice and accept sacrifices and also accept sacrifices being rejected and reject sacrifices? What if the relationship could stand without sacrifices? Because you care about the person and not what they can do for you or what you can do for them. You could trust that they care about you even if you don't do all this going out of your way because they care about you. And the culmination of everything is that Fionna and Cake start to think that everything they built in this regular world can be lost if they magic it up. Fionna has finally accepted this new world and doesn't want to lose it. Cake does not want to go back to not being alive, but they decide to fight for the world because it's not their decision how the world turns out. They just have to protect what they have rather than lose everything so they can be bootleg Finn and Jake. They have their own identities. Fionna hated her life in the beginning and wanted Finn's life, but she is not Finn. Finn would never be overprotective of Jake. In fact, it is Jake who is overprotective of Finn. Finn and Jake are partners and they have their own story. And Fionna and Cake have become partners too and they also have their own story. This is where we see that both of them are sacrificing and risking everything towards a common goal. That is what a partnership is. Compromising yourself for your partner means you stop being who they love. You stop being yourself. But if both of you don't compromise yourselves but contribute towards a common goal, this is growing together. And Fionna and Cake needed to do this to fight that multiverse cop. Sure, they got soloed and Marshall even tries that song thing Bimo did to go and it fails. This is not Adventure Time. Yeah, they get to become a legal universe and they get their magic and happy ending, without losing everything they built. Boo. They got to keep their uniqueness that makes them not a bootlegged Adventure Time. Boo. Should have reset and lost everything after getting magic so we can have something to do in season 2. If they drop a season 2, it would ruin this beautiful ending. Look what they did. Losers. All this to say Fionna and Cake had a lot to say about relationships. So they did note. This video has my take on relationships being the key factor that decided the fall of Kira through Mikami.